Now, in episode 2, we'll start off in the bar where number 5 isn't taking no for an answer. He follows Luther, trying to pester him about the importance of saving the world, but Luther has carved out a nice life being this guy's bodyguard. And that's when 5 realizes who he's working for. He's working for Jack Ruby, aka the guy that shot Lee Harvey Oswald. And Ruby is still being pestered by Carl, while sitting behind Ruby are these guys with black suits and sunglasses on, at night in a bar. Just very shady looking people. But Luther wants to go take care of Carl because he's outworn his welcome, but 5 stops him saying, I get it. You got sent to the moon, you watched Pogo die, you saw the world exploded, and then you get sent back to the 60s. And I'm sorry about that, I really am. But the Umbrella Academy needs you. You're number 1. And Luther says, I'm not number 1. Because there is no Umbrella Academy in the 1960s. And the Umbrella Academy never needed me. Luther then goes and takes care of Carl, and as he's kicking him out, Carl drops his wallet. And as 5 turns to watch Carl get kicked out, he tears his jacket a little bit. But when he checks his jacket, he finds the thing that Hazel put in his jacket. And it's something called the Frankel footage. And it has the date 11/22/63 on it, which is the day that John F. Kennedy was assassinated. So he heads back to Elliot's place and has Elliot develop the footage. And as Elliot is doing that, he heads off to try to go find Diego, which we'll get back to later. Because after Carl got kicked out, he calls up Sissy to pick him up from the bar. But as Sissy is leaving, Harlan wants her to stay and read him a bedtime story. So Vanya volunteers to go pick up Carl. And you can tell that Sissy is really grateful to have Vanya in her life. And when Vanya picks him up, Carl is asking, does she hate me? Does she still love me? And Vanya says, yeah, she still loves you, but she's pretty pissed at you because you lied to her. At this point, though, back in the bar, Luther has found that wallet. And when he steps outside to see if Carl is still out there, he sees Vanya picking him up, although Vanya doesn't recognize him because she doesn't remember anything. And he still holds a lot of resentment towards Vanya about what she did. So the next day, he heads over to their place to try to talk to her, but when he finds her, she's playing hide and seek in the barn with Harlan. He approaches her, calling her by name, but she doesn't recognize him. And she asks, do I know you? And he thinks she's playing a joke on him, but she says, I'm sorry, I had an accident. I don't remember anything. And the innocent nature of the conversation kind of turns Luther, because Vanya apologizes if there's anything she did to this guy, and he says, no, I'm the one who's supposed to apologize. I wronged you, and instead of helping you, I did the opposite. And I don't know if you're just playing off not remembering. I don't know if you want to start a new life here, but just know that I really am sorry. She still has no idea what he's talking about. She's just relieved that somebody knows who she is. Although Sissy sneaks up behind him and has him at gunpoint, demanding to know why he's there, and he hands over Carl's wallet to her, saying that he dropped it in the club. That night, Sissy and Vanya are talking alone, and Vanya is saying how she wished she remembered. She wished she knew what this guy was talking about. And Sissy warns her to just stay away from him, because any guy who apologizes in that day and age, he must have done something really wrong to you. She then tries to read Vanya's palm, but you definitely get some lesbian vibes. That night, though, as she's sleeping, she has her first memory of her old life. And the memory is of her on stage holding up Luther with her powers. And she wakes up from this nightmare, grabs the keys to the car, and leaves in the middle of the night. Now, over at Allison's, she's sitting there with Raymond just watching TV when the cops burst in and arrest him for assaulting that guy. Even after Allison says he didn't do anything, it was me, they're still taking him in. She tries to do the rumor trick, which you can tell she hasn't done in a while, and she even has the one cop under her spell, but after Raymond says it's fine, she lets him go. The next day, she heads over to the police station and wants to see her husband, but the cops are giving her a hard time, saying that he's still being processed. And Raymond just so happens to be being held in the same jail as Klaus. And we get more of an idea what Klaus has been up to the last 3 years when a guy gets arrested for handing out pamphlets without a permit. This guy gets thrown in jail, but when he sees Klaus, he goes, dude, you changed my life. I saw you speak at Berkeley, and I quit my practice that day and have been spouting your teachings. Although Klaus doesn't want to talk to this guy. He actually goes on the opposite side of the cell and mentions how heavy is the head that wears the crown, and Raymond corrects him because Raymond used to teach Shakespeare before he got involved in politics. And they have a whole conversation about how Klaus no longer wants to be looked up to by these people. But Klaus ends up getting bailed out when the governor calls in a favor for him. That's how powerful Klaus has become. And as he's walking out, Raymond says, well, hey, if you really do have powerful friends, let them know that there are brothers in here who are being held without cause. And Klaus looks back at the cop and says, is that true? And the cop says, you're more than welcome to file a complaint. That night, Klaus heads to this big mansion that has been abandoned for a while because there's sheets all over the furniture, and lays down. But on the wall, there is a painting of Klaus, painted as kind of this god with the words hello written on one hand and goodbye on the other. Now, Allison didn't see Klaus get bailed out, but later that day, she is able to finally meet with Raymond, and she does the typical thing, apologizing for him being there when she should be there, vowing to get him out. But as she's leaving, she notices that pamphlet guy's hands, which say hello and goodbye. And she says, where did you get that? And he says, all the children of the prophet have them. And she says, well, does that prophet have a name? And of course, yeah, The name's Klaus. Now back to 5, who has located Diego, who successfully broke out with Lila, and they've driven over to Lee Harvey Oswald's work and are waiting to take him out. And 5 teleports into the car and wants Diego to come with him, but Diego has no interest in that whatsoever. Problem is, Diego is wanted by the cops, and number 5 uses that to his advantage, threatening to bring them over there if he doesn't come with him. So Diego reluctantly agrees, but says, I'm bringing Lila with me. So the 3 of them head back over to Elliot's place, but Elliot, who has developed the film and seen it, is pretty shook by it. And he's got them at gunpoint, demanding to know if they are enemies of the people. And they kind of look at each other like, well, I guess it depends on the people. But neither Diego or 5 are too worried about this. 5 teleports over to him, knocking the gun away, and Diego grabs it. They then tie Elliot up and watch the tape. And the tape is nothing more than the Zapruder film with just a different name. But they're trying to figure out why Hazel gave it to 5. And that's when they see it. It's Reginald Hargraves, of all people, on the grassy knoll. So they need to locate their dad, and they head to the phone book and find the address of his umbrella company. And as they're leaving, they're planning on leaving Elliot there, but what do you do about Lila? And Lila has hidden off in a closet because she's kind of worried about what she's seen. Not only 5 teleporting over, but film of something that isn't supposed to happen for another 6 days. And the last time she started seeing stuff like this, they threw her in an insane asylum and she doesn't want to go back. So Diego kind of talks her off the crazy ledge and then asks her if she can keep an eye on Elliot. Then both Diego and 5 head over to the umbrella company, and 5 makes mention that he hasn't seen his dad in 40 plus years. But every day that he was alone in the future, he could hear his dad talking to him, telling him, I told you so. And Diego reminds him, well, this Reginald Hargraves hasn't met you yet, so he can't tell you I told you so. But 5 has a sneaking suspicion that he'll find his own way. They're able to break into the umbrella company, but it looks like it's a front because everything is covered in dust. And upon snooping around, they're wondering what kind of stuff Reginald is into, because he's got rooms set up with mannequins and fake cul-de-sacs on the walls. He's even got an invitation to the Mexican consulate in Dallas. And as Diego is snooping around, he hears somebody leave, and it's Reginald, so he starts following him. 5, who is also snooping around, hears something, but it's a monkey. And he's relieved to see baby Pogo, but when he gets down, Pogo doesn't know him like that. He's also not talking yet, and Pogo attacks him and escapes. Diego, who was tracking his father, has lost him, and Reginald now has the jump on Diego, and they start getting into a fight. Diego ends up getting the better of him, but as he's about to hit him with a pipe in the head, he can't bring himself to do it, saying, Dad? Although once again, Reginald doesn't know these guys. So Reginald takes that opportunity to stab Diego, calling him an amateur, and leaving him to bleed out. And as he's walking away, he claps for Pogo to join him, and the two escape in an alley. And finally, you find out what happened to the handler. Yeah, she was shot in the head, but she survived because there was a plate in there. And after 3 months, she heads back to work, but she heads back to a different commission. And when she goes into her office, she finds a talking fish named AJ, who has told her that while he's thankful for her service, she is being demoted. And she is not happy about that because she wants to go after number 5. And he says, no, we've already taken care of that. And they've taken care of it by sending those 3 albinos that they call the Swedes, who are being instructed to go after all of the Hargraves children. And they have posted up shop at this old woman's house after they killed her, where they await instructions. So the handler heads over to her new desk, pissed off, and she gets even more pissed off when she sees the irony in the fact that she is sitting at the desk that she put number 5 at. Thank you for watching this recap. If you do not see the next one up in the corner right there on the end screen, don't worry, it'll be up shortly. Please consider following the channel. That'd be cool. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you don't, there's a thumbs down button for a reason.